Hi guys, welcome back to the Geterbrewed channel. So today we're in Track Brewery in Manchester, and it's an operational brewery. You can hear the cannon line going in the background. There's it's just open to the Republic as well, but I think it all adds to the atmosphere. So we are privileged to have you guys with us today. So
Pleasure.
Thank you very much for your time. So Stefan, Matt, you all know Matt as well. So can tell us a little bit about Track.
We're a brewery based in central Manchester, just coming into our 9th year. Sam, who's somewhere in the background over here, founded it. I guess the kind of inception of it was that Sam went on a 2-year cycle around the world, and it was kind of on that journey, especially across the States, and cycled from the East Coast to the West Coast. He came across a lot of tap rooms and breweries and stuff, and came back to the UK with the idea of wanting to do it himself. Did a little bit of time in London, and then came back to the Northwest, where it's originally from. And that's kind of where we began. That's the most compressed history I've ever done, I think. But
That's good.
That's the start, yeah.
There's obviously a bit of pressure on you guys now, especially yourself, in that you're one of the most well-respected breweries in one of the most well-respected cities for beer. So how do you manage that?
Just keeping the beer consistent, keeping whatever style we're brewing, try and keep that bar really high. So yeah, I mean, it's just good brewing techniques and paying attention to the small details.
Yeah.
We have a very manual setup, so there's a lot of onus on the brewer to get things right. But
I noticed Andy Parker put out a lovely compliment recently for you.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
Have you any tips that you would give? Obviously there's a lot of brewers and homebrewers watch this in relation to using hops, because you're doing hop water, triple IPAs, double IPAs. You're making great cask with hops. So what's the secret?
The best thing that I started as a home brewer. I did 4 or 5 recipes which were quite straight, and then descended into chaos of let's try crazy things.
Yeah.
And I think actually brewing to style really well helps you create a balanced sort of basis for any other beer to build on.
Yeah.
And allows you to brew across different styles. For hops, you just need a really clean fermentation, keep the yeast super happy, and keep the beer oxygen free, both in the hot side and in package.
Okay.
And just creates fresh aromas and flavors.
Yeah. And projects that you do, distilling the pale ale and hop water, what drives that innovation? Is that Sam coming of a new idea, or what's the?
I mean, going to hop selection in America, you might see something new, or drinking around town. But we've always had this attitude of why can't we? Let's give it a try.
Yeah.
I'm quite analytical and I like problems, and so if I can break something down into its component parts, then you can start to replicate it and build it back up.
Okay.
I think it's where a lot of our excitement comes from as well. It's we've learned along the way, and Matt's starting from a home brewer, kind of a standing start into being a head brewer.
Yeah.
It's been a constant learning curve, and coming into work and trying new styles. I think we mentioned before that last year was our most eclectic year of different brewing styles to date.
Yeah.
And I think for everyone, we want to be trying different beers out the tank, and we're all beer fans,
Yeah.
So it's cool to test ourselves, test our palates, and try and make improvements, and also pay homage to, I guess, some of the beers that kind of influenced us.
Yeah, I think through COVID, with pubs shutting, we created a range called Reflections, which is all not historic beers, but beers that built the craft beer scene in the UK.
Yeah.
And sort of hit a few older school recipes, which then became quite fun. So we just kept it going, and we've always had a freedom to be able to brew whatever we like.
Yeah.
We have some repeat beers, but not a huge core range as such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a bit of an iconic recipe in Sonoma. It's Like, I love it on cask. It's a phenomenal beer. What's the key to keeping that consistent with? You mentioned this earlier with the constant change in terms of scaling.
Yeah. So it's a relatively simple recipe. It's 9 years old now. It's ultimately like a tiny little West Coast beer, but with quite low bitterness, quite modern hops. So yeah, scaling it from the old site to this site was a little complicated. The old site was whole cone hops on the hot side, and this is all pellet hops, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, the recipes stay completely the same the whole way through. The only thing that's changed has been the people who brew it.
Okay.
And so in that lies the problem. It's just like you have to try and make all the people the same, which inherently they are. But it pretty much always has been human interaction that's made it slightly drift one way or the other. So yeah.
Keep drinking it as well.
We
drink it all the time.
If you insist. Steph, we've heard a bit about the brewing side, but you have such a strong brand, such a brilliant aesthetic, and that's kind of your role to look after that. So where did the branding come from, and why is the brand so important to you?
Yeah, great question. I think it's been a slow process, like we came from a standing start 9 years ago. We were just a cask brewery. We didn't start canning until when? 2019 or 18?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
so we were relatively slow to that, but right from the start, like, Sam, our original designer, Dave Sedgwick, it was all cask led back then. And Sam wanted something that kind of grabbed attention immediately. So the shape of the cask clip, which we still have today, which is more triangular, more angular. And I guess that's the kind of thing that we wanted, the momentum that we wanted to keep with, is that it's kind of innovative. But I'd say that it felt like, especially with the tap room, felt like it all kind of really came together a couple of years ago to form what it is now. And again, it's just really exciting to be able to work with like amazing beers and come up with different ideas for series and stuff like that, and it all to feel track, as it were.
And how important is the tap room to your offering? Because it's a wonderful space.
It's not only important, I think it was a dream for all of us that we would, on so many levels, not just from the design level, but just to be able to see people enjoying the beers as fresh as possible. Matt gets a direct feedback into it. You could literally just like lean on the wall and look over and see like someone drinking it and see what their response is. And it also gave us the keys to brew more styles. We've got like 20 keg lines, 3 cask lines. And there was a time back there where we pretty much just produced pale hoppy liquid, and now with this and the want from consumers as well, like customers, like especially you, coming in and wanting brown ales and stuff like that.
Especially me.
Like that pushes us, and it gives us it gives us the means and the want to push ourselves, I think, in all those different directions.
You've obviously came from a homebrewing background. You've had loads of homebrewers, want to go professional.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
Brew really clean beer, free from infection, free from oxygen, and that takes you huge jumps ahead. Controlling fermentation temperatures is really important. That's like the biggest improvement that I found. And then just repeat. I think I did 100, just over 100 all grain brews before entering the competition. So what I won a couple of competitions, and that was it. Like that was the catalyst for like, right, I'm gonna do it, or I'm not. But I'm not just gonna keep on brewing in my basement. So just you've got to be critical and dial things in. I think there was a London homebrew club, which I heard, which I liked. I like the idea of it. You're only allowed to say negative things to each other, because that's your mates will always tell you that your beer's great because they get it for free, and they're nice people. But you want to know how to you know it's not quite right. So what is it that's not quite right?
Yeah.
Cut to the chase. But,
Depends what your mates are like. Mine can be quite brutal. You know, they'll not hide behind it. You know.
yeah, good friends now.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's great to have you guys here. Thanks for stopping by.
But really, if you're in Manchester, come and visit the tap room. If you're GB European based, you can order online. I take it. Is that the?
Yeah.
Yeah, trackbrewing.co.
Yeah.
Online sales.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much, guys.
Awesome. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.